Hello developers, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we'll be adding the Spotify API to our website that we'll use to fetch data to feed to our components. So let's get started. To start with, we'll go to the official website of Spotify API and search for Spotify API and go to the developers.spotify.com. So on this site, the first thing you'll have to do is register your app with the Spotify API. So you'll go to the dashboard, and once you log in with your Spotify account here, you can get this dashboard. Okay, so here you create an app. You can add a grey music player and a description called any description would do. Music player using React. You can so once you press on the create button, it will bring you to the screen. Our project has been created. It has been allotted a client ID. So we'll first go to the edit settings, and we'll have to add a redirect URI. This URI serves then as a redirect spot where once you have been authorized by the Spotify, then it will be redirected to this link. So for our development mode, this will be localhost 3000. You can add this and save this. Now that we have the project added here, we'll go and connect this to our React app. So in the root directory, we'll create a new file called Spotify.js, and in this file, we'll have the constants. The first content will be auth endpoint. The second will be our client ID, and the third will be a redirect URI. This will be equal to its just like we added inside that project on the dashboard. This will be localhost 3000. The client ID, we'll just simply copy this client ID from here and paste it. And the auth endpoint will be HTTPS auth endpoint. Save this. The next thing that we'll be needing is the scopes. So what scopes is, let's see. Let's go to the website again. Inside the docs, if you go to guides of web API, you'll see under the authorization guides, there is authorization scopes. So these scopes are basically some keywords that provide you the confidence to the users that only the thing mentioned in that scope will be provided to the person using this API. Okay, not everything. Just if you use a currently playing scope, then only the currently playing status will be given to the user. Okay, nothing else will be shared. So the scopes that we will be using will be an array and paste these two. Okay, so we'll be using the user library read to read the library and the playlist read to read the playlist and the private playlists of the user. Okay, so now we'll be creating our login endpoint. So we'll export the login endpoint so that we can use it inside our login screen, and this will be a constant login endpoint. So our endpoint will be this. So it will take our auth endpoint, which will be this link, and after that it will take the client ID. Okay. Then it will take the redirect URI, then the scope. It will join all the scopes with a space, and then it will take the response type will be a token, because after logging in we'll be getting a token, and we'll use this token for all the further API calls. So this token is required for all the calls. Okay. So the next thing we'll do is we'll create a login screen so that we can log into Spotify. So in the screens, we'll create a new folder called auth, and inside this auth, we'll create login.js. This doesn't have to be a very, big screen. This will just have a button which will redirect us to the login screen. Okay, so we don't have to spend much time on this. I'll quickly create RFC. login. I've copied the styles in the text here, so I'll just use that. Simply remove this and add the copied style. Okay, so here we'll require the login endpoint. We'll import it, and we'll also add a CSS file to give it a basic styles. We'll import the file here, login.css. Paste the basic styles here. I'll add the link to the GitHub repo in the description below. You can use the same design, or you can create any other style, because this doesn't have much, just an A tag and an image. Okay, so now let's go to our home screen and add this there. So for some time we can just comment this all and add the login screen here, just to see how it looks like. Okay, so if we go to our app, refresh it, okay, sorry, we have to add the Spotify.js inside our source directory because it's not accessible outside. Now see, if we just press this login button, it will take us to this page which will authorize this. Okay, so as you can see, the login endpoint is here. It says authorize client, the client ID, the localhost, the redirect URI, and all the scopes, everything is added here. Now if you agree, then it gives you an access token. As you can see in the hash of the site, it gives you an access token. So we have to get this access token out of it and save it inside the local storage so that we can use it for our further API calls. Okay, now as you can see, this is giving us a message that localhost sent an invalid response. So this is happening maybe because a localhost is currently set to HTTPS, but this is not a secure route, so we have to set it to HTTP. Okay, so I by mistake added it to HTTPS. So we'll go here, remove this HTTPS one, and add HTTP localhost 3000 here. And once you are done, save this, and we'll also have to change it inside our Spotify.js file. We'll go here and change this also. Now if we check, we go back and log in again. Once you agree, it comes back to this screen only because currently we have set the the main home page to just the login screen. That's why it's coming like this. So as you can see, inside the hash we have an access token. So we have to target this hash and get this access token out of this and save this inside our local storage. So inside the main home.js, we'll create a state first called token, which will temporarily store our token so that we can check if the token is available or not. Set token, use state, and set it to an empty string initially. Then we'll use an use effect hook. Import use effect. And inside a use effect, we can create a constant called hash, and we can add the value of window dot location. So this window dot location gives us the current location, this whole path. And if we type window dot location dot hash, then it will give the hash value associated with it. So this is the hash value. You can see there's a hashtag, and whatever this value is, this is the hash for it. So if you save this and console log the hash here, and you'll probably get the just the hash value. So we can inspect this and go to console. So as you can see, this is a whole hash value. So to get the access token out of it, we'll have to split and perform certain actions on this and get just the token out of it. Okay. So if you look at this hash closely, you can see there's an access token, and the access token is still here. After that, there's an ampersand, and then the token type and the bearer token type, which is bearer, and the expiry time. Okay. So if we split the string based on an ampersand, then we'll get three elements: this access token, this token type, and the expiration. So let's try that. We can split this based on an ampersand. Okay. Now if you see, there's an array, and the first zeroth element of the array contains the access token. So we'll target the zeroth element of the array. So we get this. Now if you see, this is the access token and this is the key. So if we split it based on an equal to, we'll get two elements. First will contain this, and the second will contain the access token. So we can simply target that. So after this, we can split it again based on an equal to and take the first element of the contained array. So you can see we get the access token. So we'll remove this and create a constant token is equal to hash. Okay. Now we'll store this inside our local storage. Window.local storage set item using a key of token. Set a token, and we'll also set the local state with the same value. Now if you go here and go to our application, and inside the local storage, you can see our token is stored. Okay. Now we can check this new value of the token. If the token is present, then we can go to our routes and the main screens, and if the token is not present, then we can go to the login screen. So we'll take this login screen and paste it above this and add a condition. If the token is not present, then you take us to the login screen, else you take us to the main router and uncomment our whole routers again. So you can see the token is present and we are going to the main routes. Okay. So now once you have saved the token here, so before, on every use effect, you don't have to check it. You can simply take it from the local storage. Okay. So we'll create a token. We write token is equal to window.local storage get item token. So if token is present, also we'll take this hash above this. If the token is if the token is not present and a hash is present, then we'll go ahead and perform these actions. And if a token is already present, so we can simply set the token value to the stored token. Another thing that you can do is you can clear out this window.location so that window.location's hash so that it's not displayed. So after storing it, we can do window.location.hash is equal to an empty string. Now if we go, it's just an empty string, nothing else. Now that we have added the Spotify API and we have the access token, so we'll make our first API call and get this user and user's icon and update this icon with the logged in user's icon. Okay, so for making API calls, I'll be using a HTTP client called Axios. Let's go to the terminal and add npm i Axios. So this will install the package. So I'll skip to where the package has been installed. So once the package has been installed, we can go to a spotify.js file, and at the very top we can import Axios from Axios. So Axios gives us a function. So we'll be creating an API client here. We go to Axios. It gives us a function called create. And this create takes up an object which has the base URL. So the base URL will be, we'll set it to. So every API call that we make with this API client will have the base URL automatically appended to the front of it. Okay, so we just have to add what comes after this, not this. We don't have to remember this. Okay. The next thing will be the token. So since we have a token and it is required with every API call, so you would have to add it in the headers with every API call. So instead, we can use a function called, we can make a function called export constant set client token, which will take a token here as a parameter and make a function. So inside this function, we can do API client dot interceptors dot request dot use. This will take an async function with a config, and with that config we can config dot headers dot authorization is equal to bearer plus token, and after this you can return this config again. So what this will do is this will save our token as a permanent header, and with every API call made through API client, this will append this header inside that, so we don't have to add it again and again. Now that our API client is complete, we can export it to be used in all other files. So export default API client. First of all, we'll have to call this function set client token with the token. So we'll go to the home screen, and once we get the icon, we can set client token, and once we get the token, we can go ahead and set the client token. So we'll say set client token and pass the token with this. We'll have to import set client token. It's important. We'll also add it when we already have a token. Okay, so now the token will be set to the Axios client. Okay, and we can use it wherever we want. So we'll go to the sidebar screen and call the API for getting the user icon. Okay, so we'll make a use effect here. And also we'll make a state for storing the URL of the image. Okay, so image, comma, set image. We'll use state. Initially, we'll set it to this. This will act as an empty image for us when the image is not loaded. And in the source, we'll add image. Alright, so in the use effect, we'll say API client which will be imported from Spotify dot get, and the URI is me. So this me gives us the current logged in user. Okay, so dot then we'll log the response first and see what we are getting. Okay, go ahead and import use state and use effect. And save this. So if we inspect our this and go to the console, okay, we're getting an error. Let's quickly check why this error is coming inside the network tab. We will reload this. Okay, the access token expired very quickly. Go here, go to the application and delete this token. Then reload the app. Now if you log in and authorize this, we can quickly check our console. Okay, so we're getting an object. So this object has a data, and the data has the display name, the external URLs for getting to the Spotify API, and the images. So we'll be using this images array and the first element inside this and the URL part of it. So we'll go into images, the zeroth element of the images and the URL of it. Okay. So if we log this response.data dot images, the zeroth element dot URL. So see, we're getting a URL here. So we can set this as the image. Now you can see we are getting the icon here. So now the Spotify client has been connected, and we can simply make the API calls to that. So if you go to the Spotify developer dashboard, you can see there's a console, and what this console does is it gives you a playground where you can test out all the APIs and what parameters you can send and what parameters are to be used there, and you can test it out before adding it to your website. Okay. Once you're in the console, you can see all the categories of the APIs are listed on the left. So under the user profile, you can see this is the API that we just used. Okay. So if you go here and you can get a temporary token from this, you just have to mention any scope. Then if you try it, you'll get the object, the same object that we received when we called it with our app. Okay. The display name and the images and all. Okay. So these are the other categories that are available. The one that we will be using is this get the current users playlist, all the playlists that are available in the current logged in account. Okay. So here if you get a token to playlist read private, and then if you set the offset to 10 and the limit to 10 and the limit is the number of items that we are looking for, and the offset is that how many items it will leave before starting to collect the result. Okay. So if we try it, you'll see we get a list of all the playlists that are available. So you can simply test your API before adding it to your own app, and this is a very handy console. And in this way, you cannot, you can avoid all the mistakes that you do while adding an API to your project. Okay, so that's all for this video. In the next video, we'll be using this API and creating a library screen, and inside our library screen, we will be displaying all these available playlists, and then taking these playlists to add it to the queue and play them. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next video.